The rain came down in heavy sheets that blurred the night into one long smear of darkness, but Elena didn't slow. Her car slid across the slick asphalt, tires hissing like serpents, engine growling as if it understood her desperation. She wasn't fleeing danger, she was hurtling straight into its arms. Every drop of rain that struck her windshield felt like a warning, but her heart beat louder than any storm could whisper. She was chasing a ghost she once knew better than her own reflection. Adrian. The name alone tightened her chest. When the car finally shuddered to a stop near the old highway, her breath escaped in sharp, icy bursts. She stepped outside, the cold punching her lungs, her hair plastered to her skin. The world smelled like wet soil and something metallic, fear, maybe. Or fate. She walked into the forest with a familiarity that terrified her. She had promised herself she would never return here, to their secret world built on symbols carved into trees and memories too dark to confess. But she followed anyway, tracing the crude markings he left behind. They were never for the police. They were always for her. The abandoned farmhouse appeared like a skeleton in the storm, its rotting wood trembling under the weight of thunder. Candlelight leaked through the cracked windows, dancing like the heartbeat of something sinister. Elena pushed the door open, the hinges screaming, and stepped inside. The air was thick, too quiet, too intentional. Her eyes found the boy first, tied to a chair, trembling, untouched but drowning in terror. His eyes widened at the sight of her, but she barely saw him. Her attention snapped to the shadow behind him. A figure leaned against the wall, waiting, unbothered by the chaos outside. Adrian stepped forward, letting the candlelight carve his face into angel and demon at once. His smile wasn't warm, it never was. It was soft, dangerous, a blade wrapped in silk. "You came," he breathed, as though her presence was a promise he always knew she'd keep. Elena's heartbeat stuttered. She hated the way his voice still fit perfectly into the broken parts of her. She hated that her body remembered the warmth of him, the thrill, the danger. She hated that he could ruin her with a whisper. "You said it was over," she whispered, though she already knew the answer. He shrugged gently, like truth was a loose thread he could pull any time. "And you believed me?" His eyes flickered down to the knife in his hand, not pressed to the boy, but pointed toward his own heart. A silent threat. A twisted confession. This wasn't a kidnapping for ransom. It was bait. It was a lure. It was a test built from obsession. Adrian wasn't asking for forgiveness, he was demanding devotion. He wanted her to choose him, the monster she once loved, and prove that love like theirs didn't die. It decayed. It twisted. It came back hungrier. Elena felt the storm inside her growing louder, drowning reason, pulling her toward him with a force she had spent years trying to forget. Tonight, she hadn't come to stop him. She had come to face the truth: some love stories aren't written in the stars. They're written in blood. The forest swallowed their footsteps as Elena pushed through the undergrowth, dragging the trembling boy by the arm. His breaths came in sharp, broken gasps, but she didn't slow. She wasn't the hero in this story, she was the bridge between two kinds of danger. Behind her, Adrian followed with a calmness that felt almost inhuman, as if he were taking a slow midnight stroll rather than fleeing a crime that could end everything. The rain softened under the trees, but the cold didn't. It clung to her skin, seeped into her bones, reminded her with every shiver that she had crossed a line she could never uncross. The boy stumbled over roots and rocks, nearly collapsing, but Elena yanked him upright. She needed him alive, if only to delay Adrian's darkness for a few more breaths. Then he stopped. Adrian's hand closed around Elena's wrist, gentle but unbreakable. She froze, pulse hammering. He stepped closer, the forest light carving his face into something both tender and terrifying. "You're shaking," he whispered. "I'm cold," she lied. "No," he murmured, brushing his thumb against her skin, "you're afraid." "Not of me. Of how much you still feel." His words sank into her like hooks. She wanted to pull away, but her body betrayed her, leaning in as if drawn by gravity. That was the curse of their connection. Adrian didn't need chains to hold her. He had her heart, and he knew exactly how to use it. The boy whimpered, snapping Elena back to the present. Adrian's eyes flicked toward him, expression darkening. "He's in the way," he said simply. "He's a child," Elena snapped, pushing the boy behind her. Adrian blinked slowly, almost amused. "And I'm asking you something simple, choose." That word hit harder than any threat. Choose. Choose him. Choose the monster she kept trying to save. Choose the darkness she once swore she'd never fall into again. Adrian stepped forward until his forehead nearly touched hers. His breath warmed her chilled skin. "Tell me you didn't come back for me," he whispered. "Tell me you don't love me." The silence stretched between them like a blade. The boy sobbed behind her. The storm rumbled overhead. Elena's heartbeat answered for her. And Adrian smiled, slow, dangerous, certain. The forest thinned as they reached the cliffside, the world opening into a vast stretch of darkness broken only by the pulse of distant lights. The storm had begun to die, but the wind still clawed at Elena's clothes, whipping her hair across her face. She held the boy close, shielding him from the cold, and from Adrian's gaze. But Adrian wasn't looking at the boy anymore. His entire focus was on her, like she was the only thing alive in a world built of shadows. Below the cliff, faint glimmers of movement flickered. Police. Search teams. The rescue effort she had triggered the moment she decided to step back into Adrian's nightmare. Their voices rose with urgency as beams of flashlights cut through the dark like sharp blades. They were close. Too close. Adrian stepped behind her, his presence warm and terrifying, his hand brushing her waist as if he had every right. "They've been following you," he murmured. "You led them here." Elena didn't deny it. She didn't have to. He knew her too well. "You're going to leave me again," he said softly. There was no rage in his voice, just a kind of hollow certainty that echoed deeper than any scream. "And you know what happens when you leave." Elena swallowed hard, forcing the boy behind her. She couldn't let Adrian touch him, not now, not with that storm growing behind his eyes. "Adrian, let the boy go," she said. Her voice cracked, but she stood firm. "Everything falls apart when you walk away," he whispered, stepping closer. "So don't." The helicopter's lights burst over the ridge, bathing them in cold white. Officers shouted commands, drawing their weapons. The wind carried their words, but they felt distant, muted, like the world was fading around her. Elena stood between Adrian and the guns pointed at him. "Step aside," an officer yelled. But she didn't move. She couldn't. Adrian's hand slid into hers, fingers cold and trembling for the first time she could remember. His voice cracked as he whispered her name, really whispered it, as though it were a prayer he had been dying to say. "If they take me," he murmured, "they take the part of you that still loves me." And that, those quiet words, hurt more than any threat he had ever made. The boy whimpered, clutching her leg. The officers stepped forward, guns rising. Adrian looked at her with a rawness she had never seen in him, a breaking across his features that made him look human. Only human. Elena, he said, choose. Her heart tore itself in two. The world waited for her answer. Then she took one step, just one. Not toward the police. Not toward safety. She turned her head just enough for only Adrian to hear her next breath. Run. And the moment he did, the night erupted. Shouts, gunfire, chaos. But all Elena felt was the weight of her choice, burning deeper than the storm, deeper than the sirens, deeper than the darkness that still whispered his name inside her.